Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. Today is Thursday, December 23rd. Got a packed show for you guys today. Packed show, couple reviews, maybe a third review. Lots to talk about. It's Festivus, everybody. I hope you all have a good Festivus today. I hope you enjoy and air out the grievances of your family, your friends, everybody in your life. I hope that you compete in the feats of strength. I hope you got your pole there. And I hope you're ready to enjoy the festivities. If you don't know this, Festivus is a made-up holiday. It's from Seinfeld. I'm a Seinfeld fan, so I partake in it. And I'm not going to air any grievances out on the podcast because, it's better in person. It's kind of like do it with your friends, your family, get them all around the metal pole. Which is, if you don't know, also, you get a metal pole instead of a tree. I don't have one, but I have a little figure of one that my friend got me for Christmas at our Christmas party this past week. I was just like absolutely blown away. I'm like, this is an incredible gift, man. You know me so well. And I just, thank you for that gift because it was just, I put a smile on my face. Don't forget to donate to the Human Fund. Very important also. It's something that we never talk about. But it's extremely important to, humanity and our race and our people and the culture, and it makes you feel good too. I know I have a couple cards I'm going to give out, to remind everybody to donate to the Human Fund and to spread awareness and also joy and cheer and also grievances and to keep the tradition going. And that's what's important in life. It's just to keep things going and not lose sight of important things like the feats of strength and the airing of grievances. So, just a little PSA out there to, enjoy Festivus and not to forget about it. It's a very important day, important holiday, and, to spread that, make sure you air out your disappointments to people that you know and love, how they can be better, and, let them know. That's so important, is to let them know how you feel and your grievances of them. I hope you all do that and have a good day. And to make sure to enjoy it, December 23rd every year. It only comes once a year. It's so close to that phony holiday that they call Christmas, where they give gifts and shit. They have a tree. Some people actually go and cut down a tree and actually put it in their house and then let all the bugs and stuff, and they put lights on it, and that could be a fire hazard. And not to say that it's going to be, but it's just it's too close to Festivus, and I feel like it just kind of takes it out of it. I don't know. We got to make Festivus a bigger holiday. I know a lot of people don't like Festivus, but my body, my choice. Anyway, I'm just gonna get right to it. I think that we should. If you were listening last week and the week before, maybe even a couple weeks before, I've been really excited and really just gearing up to finally see Spider-Man: No Way Home in theaters, in IMAX actually. And I'm just going to cut to the chase and just start with this review because I know that's what people are wanting to hear. Because, like I said, we had a Christmas party and all that and yada, yada, yada. And it was fun, but, one of our, good friends who was there hasn't seen it yet. So I'm like, okay, we can't really talk that much about it. Can't really vent our thing, what we thought about it, what we, where we rank it in terms of Spider-Man movies, in terms of Tom Holland Spider-Man movies and all that, and what went down, what happened, where is the franchise going to go, the movies, what's going to happen in the future. Now that time has finally come where I can actually discuss it. I'm going to start with a non-spoiler review at the beginning, and then when I do hit the spoiler talk, don't worry, I'll put it in the description, a time period of where I'll be talking about spoilers. And I'll also give it a very good definitive marking where I will start to talk about spoilers when that time comes. So you don't got to worry about it. If you haven't seen it yet, if you want to catch the review though, I'll give you a warning right before I get into it. So without further ado, let's get into the non-spoiler portion of this movie and what I thought about it. Right off the bat, I thought that this was the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie that they've ever made. Period. and not to, and also, if you do know me, you do know that I don't like Homecoming, and I don't like Far From Home. I think that they're extremely weak, that they're extremely candy ass, extremely childish, which, in this way, Spider-Man is being a, in high schooler, he's a teenager, he's just a kid and all that, and, I understand that. But from what I've seen and from what I've, was born into, Tobey Maguire, even Andrew Garfield, I enjoy a little bit more of a mature take on Spider-Man, with when a little bit not as campy, not as jokey, not as immature, I guess you could say. And, that's kind of to be expected because, you're dealing with the MCU and how they operate. So it's like, I knew from the beginning that they couldn't, they weren't going to pull off Sam Raimi type levels of feels and emotions, at least just yet. And it's kind of like, he's always been like the Spider-Man. He's a very privileged, up until this point, a very privileged Spider-Man. I mean, he has the iron suit, he has all these different suits, he has fucking arms that come out of his suit to give him extra help, he has unlimited web cartridges, he has Stark technology, he has all this, and this isn't a spoiler, but it's in every movie that he's already been in. He's, or every movie after, even in the first Spider-Man movie, even in the first, in Homecoming, I believe he gets the suit. And it's just like, he's had it pretty easy, and it's like, I just feel like those movies just call for, not many stakes, not many consequences, and not many, things where I feel like the character or the characters around that character are in danger, and I don't really need to see it because it's just like a placeholder. It's like a thing where, like, oh, go have fun. Yeah, they are fun. I just a little bit more of a mature aspect to the Spider-Man movies. I just like a little bit more of that. And for the most part, in those other two, they just seem very kiddie, very campy. Nobody's gonna die because they can't kill him yet, because they already have other movies planned. So it's like, well, I mean, that's to me why, I guess in the long run, of why they don't really land for me. It's just because I kind of know, like, they got to keep certain people alive, and they got to kill like every villain that they meet, because that's just how the Marvel movies have been from the very beginning. So it's like, there's not much you can expect. And I just kind of feel the same for the previous with Homecoming and Far From Home. It's just like, they're decent. They're not terrible, but they're pretty candy ass. That's just kind of where I land with those. Anyways, back to this movie. Clearly the better of the Spider-Man trilogy that we have so far. The best one, in my opinion. The story is excellent. The characters are really good. The performances are really good, too, from all the characters. Peter Parker, MJ, Ned, Doctor Strange are all really, really well done. I mean, the ones that that are in the trailer, too. Let's see. Tom Holland is signed on for 3 more movies. He deserves it. He's incredible in this film. He goes beyond what we've seen from him, and even more than you would possibly expect. He delivers. He's on point. He's very buyable, and he's one of the he's like the shining beacon, or the bright light in this movie, because I didn't know how good of an actor he was until I seen him in this role and in this movie. He's phenomenal in this movie, and that's just like, that's one of the big strengths that this movie has, is Tom Holland as Spider-Man in this movie is incredible. And he's like, now I see why they picked you, and now I see that this has been building up to this this ultimate performance that he gave in this movie. He's incredible. I'm gonna move on to the actual film of the movie. I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't really enjoy the beginning of the movie. I didn't enjoy it that much, mainly because of their attempt at comedy. Now, if we all know, Marvel has been like this whole thing where, they have like jokes, they have drama, they have suspense, they have they're movies that have pretty much everything that you want in a movie. Good acting, action, comedy, like I said, suspense, fear, and all that. They've become the commercial the definition of commercial movie that anybody can watch and enjoy, pretty much. And lately they've been really leaning more into the comedy, especially when they don't know like how to get through something, or say a line of dialogue, or try to make things have sense or be meaningful. They truly go to comedy, and in this movie, they don't do that too much, but they just kind of elaborate too much and stick around on the comedy bits. And I have to say, in the beginning of the movie, there's this scene where there shouldn't be this many jokes and this many funny things that are happening, and they're not funny to me, but they're attempting to be funny. And it's just like, I don't need this. We don't need all these jokes. Let's get going. And it's like, it seems like some of the jokes just kind of just last for too long, and they want to make everybody a comedian, and they just want to try to cram all these jokes, especially in the beginning of the movie. They're just trying to jam jokes in and jam comedy in. Sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't work. In the beginning, actually. In the beginning, most of it doesn't work for me. And that just kind of seems to be the thing, and it feels like an MCU movie in the very beginning, which I understand why. I mean, it is an MCU movie, but like, it's like, we've seen the trailers, we've seen what's going to happen. Let's cut to the chase with this crap. Let's move on. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this movie, and let's get there, because we all know why we're here. Okay, you've made it very clear in your trailers. You've made it very clear in all your promotion, your commercials, your ads. We know, why we're here. Let's get going. And fortunately, it doesn't take long for it to really get into that. But like I said, comedy, their attempts, just no. Ned has never been a funny character for me. They try to make a couple jokes and gags with Doctor Strange. Also, to me, just seems like not a really comedic role. I mean, I'm sure that he can be funny, but the whole Doctor Strange, like, kind of cracking wise a little bit, or kind of making a quip, is like, I don't buy it. I'm just, it's like, let's cut to the chase and let's just move on, But I will say, the one character that usually is always very consistent in their comedy and in their roles of, being, kind of a comedic part of the movies is Happy Hogan. I mean, Jon Favreau in that role, still to this day, after many years since the first Iron Man back in 2008, still kills it. He can be serious, he can be motivating, but where he shines for me is in that friend and that funny character type of role. And I think he does a very good job in it. But once things start to, happening, from the trailer that you've seen, that this is where the movie actually finally, okay, now we got what we wanted. When it comes to back in the trailer, he wants to forget that he doesn't want this attention from authorities, from the government, from he wants to get into college and be normal, but he kind of can't, because he's kind of like he's a vigilante now. If y'all know this, being a vigilante and being in that shit is illegal. So there's going to be repercussions and all that. You can't just live out your life when, if you're Spider-Man and everybody now knows that you're Spider-Man and knows where you live and all that. They're like, well, we have some questions about this and that, and why weren't you there here? And you did this, you caused this damage to that building and that building and that building. It's like, okay, well, it's like, obviously, like, why he wants everybody to forget that he's Spider-Man, but he goes to Doctor Strange for that. And then he's like, yo, Doc, make everybody forget me, but this person does a spell or gets the spell ramped up. It's like, no, this person too. No, that person. No, that person. It's like, and then it's like, it plays out through the trailer, in a way. By the way, the trailers did kind of fib around a little bit and make it, you kind of throw you off the scent just a tad. Not a whole bunch, but a tad. But it pretty much goes the way that the trailer lays out, in a way. So, the whole spell gets effed up and shit, and then you get to the point where you see, people come in from other universes, such as Doc Ock and Green Goblin, who are in the trailer that you already know. And so that occurs, and that's all very well done. And once you see that happen, once you see the people like come in, that's where it really shines, and that's where the movie like really establishes the characters of Doc Ock, Doctor Strange, Peter Parker, his friends, and all that, and even more people, and then all coming in together. It's like, okay, this is really good. This has got a good pace to it, and They have equal screen or pretty good screen time together, and they have good motivations. And then it's like, yeah, this is working good. And the movie doesn't feel very long. As it went on, the comedy actually got better. Thank the Lord. Because there wasn't as much, and it actually felt like when they did do comedy, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, or that's like not being crammed down your throat. Let's see. We go down to the movie. Stuff happens. Big monumental things happen. It's all done very well. It's all done in a way. The CGI is great. The motivations are great. You see why characters do certain things. None of that is lost in the movie. It's very well. It's very written and shot straightforward. It's not confusing. It's you get all the motivations. You get Peter Parker's side, the villain side. You get Doctor Strange's side, and all that. You get all. Everybody's side very well, like, cemented in the movie where it's not confusing. And in the end, I think that they did a very good job of concluding this trilogy in a way, and not just concluding that trilogy, but in a way like you get a benchmark in the MCU. I think like a benchmark has been. A line has been crossed in the MCU now with those characters and Tom Holland and Ned and Doctor Strange and MJ and everybody else in the movie. It's like, okay, now let's see where this goes, because I mean, they just signed Tom Holland for 3 more movies, so it's like, okay, well, what else is going to happen? I think that it was just him that was the news was for just him being signed on, but I'm not sure who else is going to be signed on as well. But like now we know for sure that he's going to be in 3 more movies, and it's like at the end of the movie you're like, okay, give me more of this guy, because he just earned it. He earned it so well. And I gotta say, I mean, like, it's a great movie to watch. It's the beginning for me again is kind of rough, comedic wise. It's just kind of like, okay, let's just get everybody's jokes in right now. But once the first act is over, I mean, I was just glued to my seat. Like, what's gonna happen? Where are we going with this? Is it going to go the way I think? When's this going to happen? When's that going to happen? Are certain people going to be in it? We're all like, what's going to happen now? Or we're all like, yo, we know it's going to happen. Just when is it going to happen? How is it going to tie into the entire story? And how is it going to make sense too? Is it going to be super straightforward? Is it going to be like a little bit of like Easter eggs here and there? How's it going to happen? But at the end of the day, the movie itself does a great job of telling the story of Peter Parker and this in particular part of his life and his character development. It's a well done movie. It's satisfying, and it feels like to me like this is what Tom Holland and that this Spider-Man has been working towards since the first time you see him in Civil War. Like when you saw him in Civil War, it's like even younger than he is now. I mean, he's already super young now, but he was even younger back then. Like an actual kid, I think he might have been like 18 or 19 when he actually played Spider-Man in Civil War. But now I think he's like 25. But it's like you've seen this guy grow up, you've seen his role and his arc all lead up to this moment. I think that they do it very well to end this particular trilogy of Spider-Man and this time period that you've known Spider-Man since Civil War, and they've done a very good job in doing that. And I give this movie. It's not perfect. It's not a 10 out of 10 for me. I know a lot of people want to go around saying that. It's just like, it's still great. It's still great. It's like just on the cusp of amazing. For me, it's an 8.9, which is still incredibly high, but I just feel like, I don't know if I could, when I'm doing my Spider-Man movie rankings, I don't know if I can put it below Spider-Verse yet, because Spider-Verse was so damn good. Like, immediately when I saw the movie, I'm like, this is a fucking 10 or 11. I don't remember what I gave it, but immediately I was just like, I love everything about this movie. Everything. Beginning, middle, end. I was just like, oh, this movie's incredible. But so I don't know if it's gonna be, if I can put it above it, but I think right below is where I would stand on this movie. Like I said, definitely the best of the Tom Holland Spider-Man, but like, I mean, Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 2 to me are just like, they're pretty much perfect in my eyes. And where this one clearly is not perfect, it definitely is up there with the Spider-Man movies. Now let's move on to spoiler talk, because I just kind of can't just give a review of it and just like and that as non-spoiler review, and that have my entire thoughts and feels, and not just give my entire thoughts and feels of it, because there's so much more that you can talk about. That would be a disservice to getting my thoughts and feels out if it was just non-spoiler. So we're going to get into spoilers, spoiler heavy right now. If you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home, I urge you to see it first and then come back and maybe listen to this after that. But if you haven't, if you don't care, if you've already seen it, you're like, get to the damn spoilers already, here we go. And there's quite a few. So let's get to this. So far, one of the biggest reveals that you don't see in any trailer, that you don't see in any, I believe, promotion, you have to wait till you actually see it, is that Daredevil is, when he was getting sued and in trouble with the law and the government, that was his lawyer, is Charlie Cox's Daredevil from the Netflix Marvel universe. So like that was a big reveal. Like, oh shit. So all those people. Now it can't just be. And this is at the very beginning of the movie, before Doctor Strange does his spell. So this is before that. So like you've already got, like, now you have what's his name? Charlie Cox is Daredevil in it. So now you gotta have Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and you gotta think, like, if they're gonna be in it, possibly Kingpin now in the future, maybe, we'll see. But now it's confirmed, like, they already brought them in. They're not dead. The Netflix universe is now part of the MCU. The entire crowd erupted when they saw him, like, oh shit. And I had some people like think, like, who was that guy with the cane? But like, for me, immediately when I saw him, I'm like, that's Daredevil. That's him 100%. Yeah, it was. Let's see. Moving on, though, that was one of the big reveals. Like, and I didn't even know about that thing. I didn't even know about that one because I just thought it was going to be like, what everybody already thought was going to happen. But we'll get to that. Don't worry, though. But yeah, that was a big reveal. It was a cool one, too. It was like, okay, this guy completely can fit within this universe, I believe. Like, they're going to have to maybe give him another show. Maybe he'll appear in a movie or something. But they're going to need some more things about him, because if you haven't seen Daredevil, I've only seen season 1. But I already know from that season, like, he's a great character, and he's great in it, and he's got a that's a good show right there. So if you're like skeptical if he can play Daredevil, if you haven't seen that new Daredevil show, or not really new, but if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. At least the first season. I've only seen that one, but he's extremely good in that season of Daredevil. Moving on, as you may have known, that you've seen, the Green Goblin appear in trailers. You've seen Dr. Octopus appear in a couple trailers. And I think you see Electro, or something that is like resembling Electro, but Electro's in it. Sandman is also in it. And Lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man 1 is also in this movie. So you got a grand total of Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman, and Lizard. So you got 5 villains. I don't think I'm forgetting any. I'm pretty sure I'm not. It would be pretty embarrassing if I was, but I'm pretty sure that those are the only 3 like villains from the other universes coming in from the botched spell, which eventually it does happen. And or the repercussions of them fucking with that spell and saying, oh, don't forget to make her remember me and him remember me and all that. That's what caused it. That's what caused that entire, at least the bad guys to come in, and at that point. And I was like, this is cool though. Their introductions were awesome. How they came into the MCU were so cool. Doc Ock Alfred Molina playing Doc Ock again was so badass. It's like he never skipped a beat. He was into that character. Like, he even said the damn line, "The power of the sun in the palm of my hand." Jesus Christ. People were fucking going crazy. I enjoyed it, but there's something that's in my life that prevents me from enjoying it that much. So I'm like, yeah, that was cool. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, ugh, I can't believe he said that. But, that's neither here or there. That's something that I probably won't even speak on. But, well-deserved, well brought back. it was amazing to see how cool and how much different that Jamie Foxx's Electro was. Because if you remember, he was kind of like a nerdy guy. He had like a little bit of he wanted to get revenge on certain people. He wanted to be like, oh no, I'm actually better and cooler than what you guys think of me and all that. And he was kind of like that, that character that's like got a motive and all that. He does in this movie too. He's hungry for power and wants to be juiced up again. But like they made him so cool in this movie. I mean, like he was like playing full on cool guy Jamie Foxx, and I'm like, bro, I like this a lot. I like this new angle. He clearly has like a little bit of it's different because it's a different universe. He feels stronger. He's cooler now and all that. And I was just like, oh, that's awesome. This guy is so cool. I just wanted more of him in the movie. You got Doc Ock and all that, and then you have Green Goblin, again being played by Willem Dafoe, who is incredible in this movie, and actually has a bigger part than you might think in this movie. We'll get to that sooner. But he does his whole thing. He starts out as the Green Goblin. He has this entire, moment where he's like, no, I'm Norman again. I'm Norman. Back, same thing that happened in the first Spider-Man back in 2002. He's got that again. It's like, it brings back like, oh my God, seeing this guy in this movie with that suit on and the glider and just the way he delivers lines. Oh man, it just feels, it's like, wow, dude, you're still so good in that role. And even almost nearly 20 years later, you're just as good, or if not even better. But that was also incredible to see. Obviously, Sandman was a little bit more is introduced. He's got a little bit more of a comedic role to him because his power is sand, and it's like, oh, what are you, like Sandy and all that? He's got a couple good quips. I think he was used very well in the movie. He's definitely got a pretty satisfying arc in this movie, I would say. The only one I kind of didn't like really care about and just kind of forgot, like he was just kind of like there, was Lizard. He was just kind of like, oh yeah, I wanted to turn everybody into lizards, and now I'm going to be, parts of the movies literally locked up in a trailer, in a truck, like a trailer that is towed by a truck, or like a U-Haul actually. He's like pretty much just locked up in a U-Haul for like a portion of the movie. It's like, oh yeah, we forgot about you, bud. He's probably the least memorable in the villain reunion, or the villain meetup. But obviously, like the whole spell was, I mean, like those people, they all faced Spider-Man, and like that's, I guess, why the spell brought them all back, because they knew Spider-Man. I've only seen it once, and I kind of like, I don't really remember why it was just the villains that came in at that point. But it's something to do with that, and I know I'm butchering it, so I'll just kind of move on to that. But the plot is that happened. Doctor Strange is like tasks Peter to go find all them because he wants to send them back, because he knows that it's wrong to have them in their universe and know these things about Spider-Man and know all that stuff. But Peter doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to just send them back. He knows that their fate is to die to Spider-Man, or to lose to Spider-Man. And he's like, no, I don't. What if I could fix these guys? What if I could reverse their ways and prevent them from becoming that, and prevent them from dying from Spider-Man? Because like they're actually, they could be good people, and they were all just kind of corrupted by wanting power and maybe some mistakes that they, Sandman fell into a sand trap or whatever it was called. Electro fell into a pool of eels. Green Goblin accidentally took the formula before it was ready or whatever. Doc Ock's thing for his arms broke, and then Dr. Connors went too far with his experiment. So it was all like, I could help these guys, their lives being better. That way they don't have to fight and, ultimately die to the hands of Spider-Man, or lose at least. So I was like, that's really cool. And that's where I like this Peter Parker more, because like he's doing things that don't need to be done, but he knows that they're the good things that he knows it's the right thing to do. You could do what Strange said and just forget about it all and just send them all back and, to where they are. But, he does talk to Doc Ock. He does talk to the other villains about who they are, their motivations. He kind of gets a little bit of their backstory and all that. And he's like, I can help these guys. I can really help them and help them prevent them from actually dying to Spider-Man or having to defeat or lose to Spider-Man. And I'm like, I buy this. I mean, I enjoy this because like now we're seeing Tom Holland and Peter Parker being truly your friendly neighborhood, or being that hero and helping people that he really doesn't need to help. He doesn't, but he's so good in the heart. He wants to, and can't help himself to not do that. And in that process, he kind of has to outsmart or outthink Doctor Strange and kind of trap him in this interdimensional realm so he can help them. And he does that, and he starts on his quest to try to revert back the villains and make them human, or not make them human, help make them good again, and maybe send them back that way. So they do that. They go back to his apartment, and they do like he's got a fabricator where he can like imitate other technologies and try to create like I think that they create like a device to set back Sandman's sand. He created a chip to not make, or to have for Doc Ock to have more control, of his arms. The correct formula, I think, for Green Goblin to not have the goblin inside of him, and then to reverse Dr. Connors' thing, and then to electricity sucker to suck out, or the power or whatever to take that out, whatever mutated in what's his Electro's whatever, to not make him Electro anymore. So they do that. They do all that stuff, and they first do it on Doc Ock, on a Otto Octavius, and then it's so cool to see like how he always wanted it to be. Like he wanted to still be sane and the same person that he is. It's just that the inhibitor chip just broke and fried, and the AI like took over his brain and all that from the arms. And like to see him revert back to that, it was so cool, because it's like, oh shit, like this is what would have happened if he didn't become a bad guy, because he was always a good guy. He was always just a scientist trying to create things for people and to make life easier for people, and with the death of his wife and all that, and then the arms like kind of taking control of that anger and harnessing that, it's just he kind of went off the walls and couldn't see through that. And it's like to see him back as actually Dr. Otto Octavius was super cool. And then a little bit like you got that like connection, because, or not the connection, but you actually established in this movie that Otto Octavius knew Norman Osborn, and that he was a brilliant scientist, and that just that like acknowledgement and that interaction for a brief period of time in the movie was super cool, because you would have expected them to bounce ideas off each other and try to help out. He had Oscorp, and he did his Sun Project, and it was just like, oh well, this is so cool to see this actually happen, and it kind of makes sense. And I was just like, this is really, really cool. Obviously, it doesn't, it does not go quietly into happiness. Stuff happens. And Green Goblin, at this entire part of the movie, he's playing Norman Osborn. He's trying to get what he wants, try to get, into their good side. And at the end, he turns on them and tries to take it all for himself, and it's like, no, you have no control over me. I'm gonna, I already know what you like and who you admire, who you love, and all that, and I'm gonna wreck your life, essentially. And he does that in a way. He beats up Peter Parker pretty much to like nearly whips his ass, because like they go into a fight sequence, and like Jesus Christ, like talk about an emotional gut punch of a fight that this is, because as much as Peter like has like had success in beating up bad guys and beating up villains and all that, Green Goblin was like a notch up. Like in this fight, like he is doing his best to try to beat up Green Goblin and to stop Green Goblin, but Green Goblin has having nothing of it, because he's just laughing the entire time. He's straight up beating up Peter. It's almost like back in the first Spider-Man back in 2002, where it's at the end of the movie and he's just getting whooped his ass by Green Goblin at the end after he saved Mary Jane from falling and dying. It was just like that. It reminded me of that because of how much like how good and how strong Green Goblin is, and that he actually nearly beat up Peter Parker to, and killed him right then and there. And then after that, he kind of this is where it turns to where I think that this Tom Holland really shined, and really we got the Spider-Man that has had to deal with loss. And that's the death of Aunt May, because Green Goblin does the thing where he gets his glider and he straight up flies it right into Aunt May and kills her. And after that, she gets up and tries to play it off that nothing happened. She starts to get dizzy. She lays down, where it's revealed that the glider impaled her, and that she's slowly dying. And that it's happening because like there's no joke. The music is getting sadder, and then you see Tom Holland actually perform his ass off, and like actually you feel that that he really fucked up in terms of not being responsible, and the power thing, and doing things that have repercussions. The decisions that he made to try to bring these people back where he really didn't have to, actually came back for him, and now cost his aunt to die in that process. I gotta say, it was a very emotional scene. It was. It does hit you, because you've spent so much time with this Aunt May, played by Marissa Tomei, a great role, a great character in this movie, and to see her death and to see how it affected Peter, it truly was like super dark and not really heard of in any MCU movie, maybe besides Endgame and Infinity War, but like Jesus, man, like this really hit home. I mean, it's super emotional, and you actually feel for Peter and, Tom Holland, because he just sells it so well. I mean, at the end, like when she's like actually like fading away and dying, he's like kissing her forehead and all that, saying, I'm sorry. Like, oh my God, like he knows, like he truly, after all 3 movies, he truly messed up. And now he's got to live with this for the rest of his life. It's like that Aunt May dying is his Uncle Ben moment. And I gotta say, like, they captured that, and they even had her say, like, right before she died, I believe, like she said, with great power comes great responsibility. And like it just nailed that moment in that character and in Peter Parker's arc, that it's probably never been done as well as it was in this movie. And I've seen, Gwen dying in Amazing Spider-Man 2, Uncle Ben dying in Spider-Man 1. It probably has never been, the death of your the parent, aunt, uncle, whatever, mentor, guardian, and then feeling that repercussion, feeling that regret, that, oh, it's because of me she died, or he died. They've never done it better than in this movie right here. Never done it better. That might have been the best moment of the entire movie. And we're not even at the end yet. But it was incredible. And that's where he snaps and he becomes rageful. And then he straight up just runs away for a while. And then like there's just like this utter like, holy shit, she's dead. And it almost feels like it's not even an MCU movie at this point, because now there's just, the hero is in distress. He doesn't even know what's happening now. He's just straight up gone. And he's just trying to hide, run away and hide. Like, he knows that he fucked up beyond any measure, because she died. And in that process, all the villains escape, and they want to, mess up some havoc, and in the process, Electro gets like an arc reactor from the Fabricator and becomes even more powerful than ever. Lizard escapes. Dr. Octopus runs off. Dr. Octopus runs off. Doc Ock runs off. And then Green Goblin is just now responsible and like almost like, energized after he killed Aunt May. And now he's just even more dangerous than before. So now this is the part where everybody was kind of thinking that would happen, but not knowing how it would happen. So in this process, they Ned and MJ kind of know that their friend, they want to see Peter. They know that he's in pain. They know that something's not right. They know they just want to talk to Peter Parker. So Ned, does this spell thing because he acquired like a ring from Doctor Strange, and he's like, he made a joke at the beginning of towards the beginning of the movie, like, oh, I've been feeling tingly in my fingers. Is that magic or whatever? Doctor Strange is like, you just probably need to consult with your doctor. So I was like, it was just kind of like a playoff joke. But he does like this motion where he's like, I wish I could see Peter, and then like little bit of sparks kind of pop up. And you think it's like, oh, it's like he's kind of like got like Doctor Strange's power, and then like, oh no, actually do this, like do a motion of your hand, a circle motion of your hand, and try to get him like so we can see him. Open a portal in that world to see our friend Peter Parker. So they do it, and then the portal opens, and you see a silhouette of a figure, and then he looks back, and you see the eyes of Spider-Man. They think that it's Peter Parker, like, hey, oh, come here. It's in the dark alley as well. Guy jumps through the portal, and then you immediately know that it's Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Immediately know that it's him. The figure, the skinny body, the kind of a bigger head, the eyes of the mask. He takes it off, and boom, it's Andrew Garfield. It's like, oh, what's up, man? He's talking about string theory and multiverse and all that. He's like, oh, it's all true and all that. He's like, what's up, guys? He's like generally curious of what he's seeing right now. That's why he stays there. And then he's like, prove you're Spider-Man. How are you Peter Parker? And he climbs on the wall and does all this shit, and it's really fun to see. And it's like, it's just in that scene alone, I was like, why don't they make more movies with this guy? Because he's got such a good charisma. He was always a pretty cool Spider-Man, just like his second movie, in my opinion, it was just really bad. The first movie I liked. The second one was just, I could deal without. So then they're like, okay, that's not Peter Parker. We got to get our Peter back. So like, they does the same thing again. And then the portal opens up, and then it's Tobey Maguire. And he kind of just steps in naturally, like he's like, "Oh, what's up? I'm Peter Parker as well." And then you see Tobey Maguire, like how it would be. It was crazy, and the entire theater erupted. Everybody was cheering, and then he's there because he felt something. I think he felt like somebody needed him, like somebody had to be there. And I was just like, oh, that's strange. Like, why would he feel that? But then he sees Andrew Garfield, knows that he's Spider-Man. They do like a little bit of a standoff, like a duel back in the Western days where they shoot their webs at each other. And then he kind of knocks out Andrew with like getting his web cartridges and just kind of like, immobilizes him essentially. It's like, oh yeah, we're the same thing kind of thing. And then it's cool because after that they're like, well, where is he? Like, we can help him out, or we can help him with knowing that what he's dealing with. So they take him to Tom Holland. They pep talk him, they hug him and all that. They're like, you can't fall down this path because we've all kind of fell down that path as well. And it led to nothing but more suffering and more sacrifices. Like, we know that you have rage, and we know that you want to kill this person, Green Goblin, but that's not the route. We got to help you out. And in the process, they talk to him, they pep him out, or they pep talk with him, and then they're like, you know what? We could use you guys to help bring those guys back. And then they do. They have some incredible moments with them in their suits, and they're talking about their web shooters. And then they talk about how Tobey Maguire doesn't have those. He's just like, biologically got webs in his arms. And then they have a couple gags about that. It's funny. And then like there's this whole thing of like the fish out of water thing, where he's like, Tom Holland's like, whoa, what the hell was that? It's like, what? You can't do that, huh? Like, you guys got to actually make that and then, put it on. Like, I just have it because it's in my body. I was like, that's such a cool moment. It's so funny. But then they gear up for the end of battle, which you've probably already seen some scenes in the trailer. They just, they just took out the other Spider-Man in it because, spoilers. So they fight them off. Doctor Strange comes back, and he's like ready to do this one final spell to fix everything. But he's like, no, hold on. I could help him out. He's like, okay, Parker, do your thing, because he's already seen him do it to a couple of villains. He's like, well, I'll be damned. He can do it. So it's like, and then they decided to help out and do that one by one. They help out Lizard, Sandman, and then Electro. And then after that, there's kind of a showdown between Goblin and Tom Holland again. And right before Tom Holland beats him, and then after that, he's trying to kill him, and he gets the glider and is attempting to stab him. to kill Green Goblin. And then as soon as he's about to slam it on him and kill him, Tobey Maguire just stops him, is on the other side of the glider and just holding it up and looking at him like, no, dude, you can't do this. I know you lost Aunt May. I know you lost everything pretty much. But if you do this, this is going to lead to a world of just pain and rage, and you're not going to be the same. They didn't even say anything. But Toby just looked at him like, just the stare and the look that he gave him, like he knows that, no, you can't do this. I won't let this happen. And then for him to be the one to do that, to kind of like go full circle, how he didn't want to kill Green Goblin in the first movie. He just dodged the glider, and he was in shock after what happened because he knew after that, like, this whole entire world just spiraled out of control. And he like, something similar would have probably happened with that if he killed the Green Goblin in that moment. And that he regretted it from ever happening, because if you know what happens with Harry in those movies and what he has to go through. So like, it's like, no, he's going to prevent him from doing that and potentially having something similar happened after that. Maybe not as direct, but maybe psychologically fuck him up. And I was just like, that's an incredible moment. And after that, they turn Goblin back. They give him the actual formula to bring him back to sanity. He's no longer, Green Goblin is gone. It's now just Norman Osborn. And there's just so many moments that are so great to watch, because you see Tobey Maguire talk to Doc Ock. He's like, it's so good to see you, my boy. Like, oh, I remember that. Like that was what's supposed to happen, but it all went wrong, and like that's how he was supposed to be. That's how much Peter liked him, and then how much he liked Peter, and it's like, oh, this is great to see. And then you saw the same thing with Electro, and then Andrew Garfield. Like, oh yeah, man. I mean, I always thought that you were, this or that or whatever. It's like, oh, I mean, they would have had such a cool relationship if they never became bad guys. It's like, oh man, it's so cool to see, because in a way the movie kind of feels like it's giving you payoff to what happened in those other movies. What happened with Electro, what happened with Dr. Connors, what happened with Sandman, and even Doc Ock and Green Goblin. It's just like, it's like a full closure on that entire era of Spider-Man. It's crazy, but that's what it feels like. After that, Strange is like, you have to actually send them back now. Now that you've done your thing, you've seen what they really are, and you've changed them. But the process, you've also lost your aunt, and you also have to do this because when you do send them back and you forget that everybody know that you were Spider-Man, you can't reverse it. It's going to happen. So now he's got to confront before that, he actually hugs the other Spider-Man, and then says, you guys are amazing. You guys are like brothers. It was so cool to meet you and all that. And then, like, you helped me through this entire thing that could have went sideways if you weren't there. I was like, that this is such a beautiful moment in the world of cinematic Spider-Man. It was so cool to see. And then after that, talks to Strange. You can't reverse it or whatever. You can't have any modifications to who can remember him and who can't. And then he has to say goodbye to his friends. He's like, you know what? Don't worry. I'm going to find you guys. Don't worry. I'm going to find you and make you remember. And they're like, yes, please make me remember. Does the spell. Time passes by. And he's visiting the grave of his aunt. It says May Parker right there. And Peter Parker's right there too, watching and, mourning her death. The gravestone is right there. And then to the side walks Happy Hogan. And then this is like one of the first gut punches you hear when everybody's going to forget. When the repercussions of that spell, sending them back and everybody forgetting that he's Spider-Man. Happy's like, how did you know her? And then he's like, through Spider-Man. Like, oh, he really is like, it worked. Nobody remembers him. And he's like playing like, I shouldn't try to make this guy remember who I am because it would be wrong. And it would be weird. And he actually, was like, you know what? See you, Happy, without even saying goodbye to him. Like you would know, like a friendly goodbye. You just kind of left like, nice meeting you type of thing. Like knowing that he's not going to try to make him remember or make anything of it. Like Tom Holland, that Peter knows that Happy was like a good friend. In some ways like a father figure in a way. Like him to Iron Man type of thing. But he can't say those goodbyes because Happy doesn't know who he is. And then he tries to go and convince Ned and MJ who he is too. And he sees them in a coffee shop. In just like in a scene prior where they were talking about college and all that before this all happened. And he sees them living their lives. They're going to go to college. MJ's working, just like in the previous meeting. But he gets the letter of what he's written down. Like, hey, I'm Peter Parker. You knew me. I'm Spider-Man. We had all this time together. We were friends. Now you're my girlfriend and all that. And we knew Ned. He looks at it and he's like, and he folds it up and just sees how they are, how their lives are going and their friendship and all that. And their lives are without them knowing that it's him, that he's Spider-Man, that he knows them. And he sees all that. And he can't muster up a reason to put himself in their lives. And I thought I thought of, I remember back in the first Amazing Spider-Man, when Gwen Stacy's dad was like, get out of her life. Get out now before you guys know each other too much because it can only lead to pain. And it's never going to be fine. It's never going to be, don't bring her into this. Don't make it a thing, because if something happens, you'll never be able to live with it. And I was just like, that's kind of like what's happening here. He sees that their lives are pretty good. They're happy, going to college, and he's like, I don't think I want them to know me. I don't think I want to put them through this anymore again, like I already have. So he folds the letter, gets his coffee that he already ordered, and then just leaves. And then we get a little montage of him, moving into an apartment and setting up his apartment. He's going to have to get a job now. He's no longer in high school. Not sure if he's in college. He might be. And he has to sew his new suit because he no longer knows the Avengers. He no longer knows Stark or anybody, or nobody knows him. So he kind of has to be on his own now. And it's like, now this movie was like a fall from his grace, and now he has to be reborn. And I just thought that at the end of the day, when you saw him, at the end of the movie, when you see him with his sewing his suit, putting it on back to like cloth or whatever he used, it's a classic look, and him just trying to be that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm like, oh baby, this is so earned. It was almost like that entire first trilogy was like an entire origin story. And now we're going to get actual Spider-Man. Before it was privileged Peter Parker getting on the Stark tech, having all the Stark gadgets, knowing the Avengers, being a part of a team, having the luxury of, again, like the Stark stuff and all that, and just being like kind of waltzing through life and all that, not a care in the world, nobody's dying really. We got blipped, but, now we're back. Now to begin all over again. Where truly nobody knows who he is. Now he can be anonymous. Now he doesn't have to be, worried about his identity at this point and just try to live his life. And while also being Spider-Man, who now nobody knows that he is. And you just kind of see him web sling through the city, him with his new suit, or technically a new suit, but not as, obviously no technology, and just now him being reborn now. after the fall from grace and now having to be trying to, be an even better person than he was back then, because now he knows how much with great power comes great responsibility. And I was just like, wow, they brought me all back. They brought me to Tom Holland now. Like, now I want to know more about him, what the future holds for him, what he can do in the future, how that's going to shape the rest of the trilogy, if it's going to be, super tied into the MCU, or if it's going to be kind of like its own thing now, because it's still Sony, technically. How much is he going to be with the other Marvel characters? What's going to happen with that? Like, is Happy ever going to remember him? Nick Fury, whatever, all those guys. Like, what's going to happen now with this guy? Because he has lost everything. Essentially, he's lost everything. Because he decided to make that decision to try to fix him. And it was a great thing to see. But it's just like, wow. Where do we go now? But it wasn't like a sad thing. Sure, it is sad that they don't remember him, but it's like, now we truly are going to get into a more, I guess you can say, adult version of Spider-Man now. Maybe more of a mature version. Maybe. Also, I would say a more interesting, a more grounded Spider-Man, a more, not much of a cakewalk, a more of a struggled Spider-Man, which I'm, with what Tom Holland did in this movie and the performance, I am so ready to see. Because now I'm truly on board with this guy. I'm not rooting for this guy. Because, after this movie, man, gotta say, I want to see more what he can do. And what other stories that they can tell, and how they can interweave more things. If he ends up getting another Mary Jane, if he ends up getting maybe a Gwen Stacy type of character, if he meets a Harry Osborn type character, if he can, bring them all back to remembering who he is, if that's, even in the cards for the future. But I just want to see what they're going to do next, because they actually left me off wanting more of this guy. Where the other movies were, for me, were like, I don't want to see any more of this guy, or I don't care about this guy, to now I truly give a damn. And I want to see what happens with Tom Holland Spider-Man. Truly, truly do. And I believe I already said it in the first half of this review. I'm going to say it again. I give this movie, without a shadow of a doubt, or if that's even how the saying goes, an 8.9 out of 10. Truly worth it. Worth the hype. Worth the build-up. Earned. Everything about it was earned. Incredible movie, incredible villains, incredible story, and so much fun. Just a fun movie. When it's fun, it's fun. When it's dark, it's dark. It's and well deserved. I think like maybe the second or third highest grossing movie on opening weekend since Avengers Endgame. I knew it was going to be big too. It's like it's going to be gigantic, but I'm more excited. I'm more happy that it just left more of an impact on me than how much money it made. We can care less about the money, obviously, honestly. But like just the impact that the movie made on me and how I look at that universe, and now I'm actually more excited for more Spider-Man. I'm all in now. I'm all in. A little bit more of the MCU. We're going to review Hawkeye now. The season just ended. Yesterday, last episode came out, episode 6. It's a 6-part series. I'm pretty sure it's only one series. I'm sure they could make another season, but I'm not sure if they will. And so now I'm going to review this. All in all, not my favorite MCU show. I have to say that. I did enjoy WandaVision and Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier even more. Did not see Loki, like I've already mentioned in this podcast, but on this podcast, not in this episode, but on this podcast. Haven't seen that one, but I would say that this one is just not up to my interest or speed, I guess. I enjoy the characters. I enjoyed Clint Barton. I enjoyed Kate Bishop. I think that their relationship is great. They have great chemistry. They have a great bond. They truly, it's not like, oh yeah, let me just be with you and all that. It's like, after watching this season, it's earned. it's definitely earned. It's it's a good relationship. It's like teaching the new generation of heroes, I guess you could say. If she even goes on to be more things, which I'm sure she will. If it's going to be in the Avengers or maybe something else, I don't know. But that's one of the strengths of this show is that relationship. And the like I've said, I don't want to be so down about it, but like didn't really enjoy like the jokes and I guess how immature the entire show was. It is kind of campy. It is very cheesy in some parts, and it's just kind of like overwhelms me. Not overwhelms, just kind of more than I would like. It's just kind of like, oh, jokey joke and all that, and I just kind of feel like. I mean, it's just that was their entire thing. It kind of felt like a Christmas movie at times, which is cool, and they marketed it around Christmas and it being the best time of the year with all the Christmas music and all that, and the trailers and all that. But I just think that it's not a super long lasting, not long lasting. It's just like it doesn't really leave much of an impact, as much as I thought that Spider-Man did. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, Kate Bishop's now here, cool. But yeah, performances were good. Like I said, Clint Barton or Jeremy Renner's good. Haley Steinfeld is good. Everybody's pretty good. But I think that the main part of the main gripes I have with this movie are the villains, like in plural, because like there are so many people after these people that I just clearly I truly don't give a shit about. Truly don't. And there's so many too. Like there's the stepdad at the beginning, who's this is gonna be spoilers, by the way. So if you want to hear, or if you actually care, skip ahead. The whole stepdad thing of him being a villain, or acting like he's a villain and being a villain, and then for him not to be a villain, is kind of just like, okay, this is a little bit of that was a ruse, sure. But it's like it didn't. Ultimately, I just didn't feel like it needed to be there. I was just like, okay, I mean, sure, you made me think that it wasn't him. Cool. Maya and her brother were just kind of like, placeholders for like the actual big villain at the end. Their scenes were just like, oh, we gotta do this for Dad. We gotta do this for. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. And it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, it's like it didn't really matter, in my opinion. You're always just kind of like, reoccurring bosses in games, just like, oh my god, get out of here. And then the whole thing with the Natasha's sister trying to kill Clint Barton, who was played by Florence Pugh. Yelena, I believe is her name. She came in. I was like, oh, wasn't expecting you. And she would just be like, she was kind of like comedy, but like her whole motive was to kill Clint Barton, which is like, I mean, and there's a scene where like they're having like mac and cheese. Like, so why are you here? Oh, I'm gonna kill Clint Barton. By the way, this mac and cheese is so good. Yay. It's like, oh my god, this is so just in like it just I don't feel any like feel like you actually want to kill this guy, because you have conversations with Kate Bishop, you joke around shit. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna kill Clint Barton. I just kind of felt like so weirdly off. And I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. This is fine. I mean, it's just like, it just felt so weird. It felt odd. It felt just out of place. It didn't feel like they were taking it seriously, which I mean, in a case that they probably didn't want to, because Yelena, at the end of the day, was not going to be the bad guy. But they kept trying to make her be the bad guy, but made her comically stupid in a way, like how she just got kind of schooled by a couple things. And just outbeaten and outdone. It's like, okay, whatever. I guess you clearly are not going to be the villain, or you're clearly not going to kill Clint Barton. So it's like, why make yourself look stupider? Why do that? The Trenchcoat Mafia from the beginning just never was good. I mean, they were just like absolute stupid idiot buffoons like that are in like a Batman Arkham game. They're just kind of there to beat up, and it's just like, this serves no purpose. At the end of the series, that there was this entire shootout between them and the Trenchcoat Mafia, and they're already so stupid and so dumb that them just like shooting them with arrows was just like, oh cool, we got them out of the way, nice, whatever. I mean, they were just Like, it's just the bad guys in general in this show were just so just not bad and not, any way threatening in a way that you thought that would actually, harm somebody in the show. It's like, okay, get on with it. And it's just like the fact that there's also 6 episodes of this stuff. This could have been a movie. Easily could have been a movie. No doubt could have been a movie. Probably much better as a movie, if I'm being honest with you. This being a show really was just not it didn't need to happen, in my opinion, because this could have been the show. This could have been a movie, not a show. And then, big spoiler here. I mean, you hear me talk about Charlie Cox and heard me talk about Daredevil being in the MCU now, and revealed on the episode before this season finale was Kingpin. Kingpin's in the show. He was the big bad guy all along. He hired, or his Kate's mom owed a debt to him because after the death of her husband, and he owed some money, and she had to use him for to kill Armand, who I totally forgot about, to be honest with you, and to set things in motion and to be, the big bad guy. He was the big bad guy, and I got to be honest with you, he was a big letdown in this episode. Big letdown. If you've seen Daredevil and whatever else he does, and just that one season, and what he's capable of doing, and the fear that he puts into people, it's probably like a fraction of that is in this version of him. I mean, obviously that show's like mainly rated R, and this is not. So like they obviously can't do it. But if you have seen him and then you watch him in this, you're gonna be let down. Because I certainly was. I was like, I mean, it's cool that he's in it, but he didn't do anything. He kind of just like shoved a couple people, he beat up a couple people, and that was it. And then he kind of just goes away. It's like, I mean, like, he has a couple interesting lines or good, good scenes of dialogue and all that, and good performances, but it's like, that's not fully Kingpin. I mean, I've seen Kingpin. I mean, that's just like that's a very kiddie version of Kingpin. Like, what are you doing? Come on. But yeah, ultimately Kingpin was a letdown to me. It ends strong. It ends pretty good. But all in all, it's just like, this honestly did not need to be a show. This could have been a movie. It would have been paced better. It would have been not as campy in some spots. It would have had to deal with less of such bad villains, in my opinion, and just being on screen for too long and being their motivations being dragged out so long and ultimately leading to not much resolve. Could have been a movie. Would have been a lot better, I think. There's an end credit scene at the end of this episode 6. You don't need to watch it. Not saying that I'm telling you not to, but you don't need to watch it. Kind of stupid in my opinion. It's kind of like self-flattery, which, I mean, like, it's just like, okay, Marvel can do whatever they fucking want and they'll make shit. I'm saying this as I absolutely just praised Spider-Man, but I'm just going to tell you how it is. It wasn't the greatest show. In fact, I think that you could probably skip it. You could probably skip it and be just fine. And I didn't mean to sound that negative about it, but it just kind of just feels like, it's very meh. So, with that being said, with that review being a hybrid of spoilers and non-spoilers, I'm going to give this show a 6.7 out of 10. It's okay. It's certainly fun. Christmassy holidays are here. You can watch it now if you want to. You can watch it all if you want to right now. But it's not like gonna it's not gonna blow your mind, but it's also not gonna satisfy you, I think. It's just okay. Just okay. 6.7 out of 10. One more review. Moving on. The Witcher Season 2, people. The Witcher. How many of you have heard of that? Have seen it? I don't know if you have, but I certainly did. The entire Season 2. Now, if you did watch Season 1, you might have had a problem with the way that the story was told. And maybe not confused you, but like, this would be so much better if it was just told in a linear way that I could that's more enjoyable for me. Not just going back and forth and getting time is all weird and like, oh, it's been like this many years, but you look the same. It's like, what is this? What is that? In my opinion, right off the bat, I absolutely loved the linear approach of this season, because it actually felt that I was able to, it was to tell a story in a better way, overall, to build even more onto that world. Instead of just getting stuff thrown at you, like this is this person, this is another person that was actually 5 years ago, this is another adventure told 2 years before that, or 2 years or after that, or whatever. It's a much better and easier way to actually see a world build and progress, in my opinion. I enjoy that quite a bit. All three characters that we are introduced at the very beginning of the series, and even in this season 2, are absolutely great. Geralt of Rivia, Ciri, and Yennefer are all very good in this show. But I do think that Ciri's story and Ciri's plot and Ciri's journey in the season takes the cake for me. Freya Allan plays her so well as this privileged princess who doesn't want to be a princess, who knows that she's made for something. She keeps being told that she's made for something more, or she's here for something more. She's bigger than what you think she is. There's so much, destiny is still a thing. This is your destiny to be this, or your destiny is to protect her and all that. So she's like the main focal point of the series. She does a very good job of like being like, no, I don't want to be a princess anymore. I want to be a warrior. I want to be a witcher. You see that her struggles with that. She's no Rey. She doesn't grasp everything like that. She has a journey throughout the what's it called, the season, and it's fun to watch of how that progresses, and how the relationship between her and Geralt are, met with differences and not agreeing on certain things, to being like, oh yeah, I see what you're coming from, or I know what you wanted there from me. It's cool to see that. Yennefer's got basically her own path to, and her own, troubles to deal with in this, much like much like, last season too, kind of away from the other two, which is, part of the layout of the series, or the season, sorry. But she has her own adventures. She has some pretty important things to take care of, and obviously that there's a big moment in her life that kind of changes things up at the very beginning throughout the season. And for her to deal with the events of the last season and the choices that she made in that season. In addition to all that, we got Yennefer, Geralt, and Ciri. We also get Vesemir, who is, if you read the books, if you play the games, that is like Geralt's father, essentially, or his mentor, or his Obi-Wan to Geralt's Luke, or whatever. Kind of like that, in a way. He's a great addition. Also are the other Witchers in the show that are introduced in the show. It builds more on the Kaer Morhen. It builds more with Kaer Morhen. You learn about where the Witchers are, what they do, why they're there, where have they been, and all that. It's very interesting in that sense as well. And I think that what's also great is the monsters in this season are top notch. In that sense, they do a very good job of making like a monster, kind of like a boss in a game, and throughout the season. It kind of feels like, in a way, every episode was kind of like an episode. It was kind of like an episode of Mandalorian, almost. Like, he's got there's an overarching plot, but every episode is like its own little side mission, own little side quest, which I enjoyed quite a bit. And it was all told in a way that was chronological. There are some things that are carried on from the previous episode, some things that are kind of not, in a way. But I thought that it was done a lot better than season 1. Although some of the side plots and the overarching world conflict that surrounds the big three, Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri, it's not that they're confusing. They're not. I mean, I know why they want, why who is so powerful, why they want them, why they don't want them to have them, without spoiling it. I understand that. But I think what is making me not fully love this show, not fully loving it yet, is that none of the characters that I like are helping establish these other characters' motivations. Some of them are. some of them do, but not to the extent where I totally care about the other, what's happening with the elves, the Nilfgaardians, the other kingdoms in the show, because there's a lot of scenes where you see like leaders and stuff like gather and like watch things or eat dinner and have conversations, and then but it's just like you kind of walk away from it being like, oh, I mean, it's interesting, but I feel like we need a little bit more development of these characters for me to fully care about what's truly happening and how that character and who they represent affects the big three, being Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri. I feel like it's just kind of missing that. And they feel like what they're talking about is very important, but I'm not getting the sense of it, how it's important to them, most of them. Like, there's King Foltest, there's Dijkstra, there's the king, I believe, of Temeria, Redania, all these. There's a lot of other lands and kingdoms that are in the show, in the series, but you don't really get a whole lot of that, and you're expected to care about what their input is on the politics and all that, and their business with the elves. You just don't see a whole lot of it. Like, there's a character that in the movie, without the show, without spoiling, he's like an officer for Nilfgaard, I believe, and he's like, you can tell like he's kind of a bad guy, and he kind of like is like an antagonist, I would say, to certain characters, but he's not really. It's like, I don't know your full motivation here. Like, you're saying like, my allegiance to Nilfgaard, and it's like, that's it. Like, I want to know a little bit more interpersonal things of why you do this and why you are this way, but it's kind of just brushed over like, I'm the bad guy, I'm this, I'm that. Also, Cahir, who was in the first season, if you don't remember, he was the knight with a feather on his helmet. He's in there. He's a bad guy. I still think he is, but it's just like his motivations are like all over the place. It's just like, what's your... Again, I understand the main plot of it. I truly, truly do. But some of the characters in that side plot, just, for me, are just like, it's not that fun to watch. Like, it's not like Game of Thrones where it sweeps you up and like everything's sort of connected. I feel like it can be in this show, but it just, for some reason, just isn't yet. Until the very end of the season, though. At the very, very end is some connective tissue. I'm not going to spoil it, but at the very end, I'm like, oh, yeah, now I can see where it connects. But up until then, it's like, where are we at here? Where are we at? Like, where's your connectivity to the big three? Because they should be, main players in this to the antagonists, air quotes. Because I'm just not really sure who... now at the end we do have an antagonist, but it's like, up until that point, we're like dabbling who's good or who's really bad or their motivations and all that. I just feel like it took a long way in a very not confusing, but just like, okay, who's who here? Like, what's your motivation and what's your purpose? And how do you interact with the big three? That's kind of like where I'm at right now. It does feel like, it just feels like it's not as cut and dry as it is in like Game of Thrones, where it's like, oh, who everybody is, or who the kingdoms, and where everybody's at, and where everybody's put at on the continent. I have no idea where anybody's at on the continent. Like geographically, like where like the kingdoms are. I have no idea of how far they are or how big they are or anything like that. I'm just like, whoa, how far is Nilfgaard from the north or whatever? Like, how far is that? And what's in between all that? I'm sure it's different from the game, or maybe it's not. But I'm just like, yo, where is everything at? Where is Aretusa? Where's the council at? Where's all this at? How does this, partake in this storyline? it's just like, okay, we need a little bit. We need to give people more information who have not read the books of where things are and where is Sintra, or how does that have how does that have give some person power, or whatever, how that works out. Because it's just like, again, I get the entire story, but I guess it's just like I don't really understand how the kingdoms work yet. Like they want this to gain power, but it's like, and then the elves become another thing. But I don't know. It's just like the geography really messes me up. I just want to know like where people are in the. Maybe I'd have to look up a map or something, but I just think that would be better to know where people are, where they are at on the map. I don't know. And also, like, how does this character play into the big three, or the antagonists and the protagonists? Like Kahir, Fringilla, I get their motivations, I understand them, but it's like, how do you? I guess it would have been better if like it directly like interacted with like Geralt and Ciri, but it doesn't though. So I'm guessing like maybe in season 3 they're gonna get into that more, but it just kind of feels like season 1 or 2. Like 1 and 2 would be like one season in a way, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It's there's something there that's not letting me fully connect with the world itself. Like I'm not like totally I'm not totally like engulfed into it, or I don't know a whole lot about it, or what makes that world tick. Yeah, I know monsters, I know the conjunction of the spheres, I know the kingdoms, or I know their names at least. I don't even know if we've ever been to much of them besides Sintra and Sodden. I don't know. Have we been to Redania? Have we been to Temeria? I don't know. I truly don't know. At least in the show. I know that we've been through like Kaer Morhen. That's very much in the show. It's mentioned. It's said, and that looks pretty cool. But I just kind of want to know a little bit more of like the overall places and where we are. And I know about that certain places in the season I won't spoil. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give this show. As I did like it better than season 1 in terms of storytelling and in terms of chronological ordered stuff, and I enjoyed that the characters were, when they are together, they're great, especially Geralt and Ciri, and the additions of Vesemir and all the Witchers, and I just think that again some of the backstory could be where it is understandable. I just find it not at all interesting as the main story at all, truly at all interesting. Like if it didn't have any of that, which I'm pretty sure that the Witcher books are not as in depth with the backstory. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they have some depth, but I feel like they're trying to stretch it and make it kind of like Game of Thrones. But in that process and trying to make it and give so much screen time to the other side characters, they're losing like what makes me drawn to that character. Like I want to be drawn more to Fringilla or Kahir or Francesca or the other characters, but I can't, because it feels like they're just being used as a tool to describe the world around them. And they're not really fleshing out the character and just saying, oh, look at the world. There's a council, there's kingdoms, there's a king, and there's multiple kings and an emperor. It's like, oh, okay. And they're not using the characters and building the character in a way that I actually care about the character. Therefore, I care about their story. It's like the character is being used as a tool to make the world, if that makes sense. I don't know. That's just kind of where I feel about it. I'm gonna give it a. I'm gonna give this season. I believe I gave the first season an 8.2 out of 10, I believe. I might have given it maybe an 8, maybe. I don't know what I don't remember what I gave it. But I'm gonna judge it on its own, and I'm gonna give this series. I'm gonna give it a. When it's good, it's really good. But there's a ton that just is just, again, it feels like it's just being forced fed to you, and none of the characters really pop to me. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm gonna give it a 7.8 out of 10 for season 2. Maybe there's another one coming out next year, I believe, or they already greenlit season 3. And knowing Netflix's how they what they do with their shows. I mean, they just canceled Cowboy Bebop. Who knows if it's going to continue after that? I've talked to somebody who actually watched it. Thought it was pretty good. Obviously not like the anime, but not as good as the anime, but thought it was pretty good and solid, and that they could have done even more, but they canceled it. So it's like, are they going to cancel The Witcher after season 3? I mean, I don't know if they will, because they've already pretty much they're pouring everything into this Witcher world. I think they've done an anime movie. They've already done season 2 of this one. They have a new show coming out called Blood Origin that just got a trailer dropped. So I don't know if they're gonna what's gonna happen. I mean, hopefully that now after the end of this season 2, and what's potentially going to make it even bigger now, is going to make things, at least in the overarching world and overarching plot, seem more interesting to me, because I just felt like it just was very, very disinteresting. Very, very, just get me back to Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer, please. I also got to throw in Jaskier, the bard, who's just brings life into this show. He plays that character who, if you play the games, his name is Dandelion, so well, so good. Hopefully that continues in a nice form. And I'm trying to think of anything else that I missed. No, I think that's it. Production was good. The monsters were good. Some of the CGI was kind of crap in some points, but it wasn't too bad. There definitely is some interesting plot points in there that they about the world in general that I think that are very interesting. They're not like the politic side of it, but they are like a side plot that I thought was super, super interesting. And I hope it continues. Hope it gets better. It's still a good show, I think. 7.8 is still good. It's a high good. It's just like there's just a whole part of it, or it's just not very engaging to me. And not to say that it can't get better. It should get better. But at their first attempt of really trying to make like a grand sweeping epic with multiple plots in a gigantic world that you care about, and politics and leaders and kings and all that you care about, in that aspect, it kind of missed the mark for me. Just kind of missed it. Not like I wasn't confused. I just didn't really totally care about it. And I just thought that's just, that's the main thing. Just get that settled, get that written out pretty well. Make me like these characters. This Fringilla, make me like her. Make me like Cahir more. Dijkstra, Foltest. Make me actually care about these characters more. And then we'll talk. Moving on though. Now I know that this is coming out 2 days before Christmas, right? This Festivus right now. And you're going to be busy with the family. Going to be busy with activities, whether it's eating food or wrapping gifts or shopping. So I'm not going to make it go so super long today. And I know that we haven't talked about the NFL yet. And I know that takes up a big chunk of the podcast. But I enjoy it. I know people do. I'm just not gonna talk about every game, but I'm just gonna look at the playoff picture right now, and who's in every division, and see what's happening, because I mean, this is the most wildest season that I can remember, where there's been so many fall from grace teams, redemption teams, flukes, teams not performing as well as they should, injuries, COVID-19, Omicron is back or is here. So we're just going to go through every division and see who stands out to me. I'm not going to go through every game from last week. I'm just going to see like where everybody's at heading into week 16 because, I mean, it's been a long season. It's been a good season. Now it's about to pop off. The AFC East is controlled by the Patriots. They're going to play the Bills this week. This is going to be a gigantic game. If the Bills can't, pull this off, I think it's going to be curtains for the Bills, at least to win the division. Because after the loss to the Colts from the Patriots, I believe that they're just going to be super motivated to, defend against the Bills and defend against the Bills and just not let them have any life. Because, listen, the Bills they're a good team. They just haven't had the best season that they thought that they could, especially after the season that they recently had last year, where they just broke out and won a ton of games and won them convincingly. Great team and all that, and just I just feel like the Patriots are not that great still, in my opinion. They just have a better coach, and they're a better coach team, I think. I just think that Sean McDermott is just not as good of a coach as Bill Belichick. I'm just going to say it right then and there. I just am. So I think that they'll win the division. If they beat the Bills, for sure they win it. Cincinnati is leading the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens have kind of skidded. I know that they haven't had Lamar this past game, and Tyler Huntley's been playing pretty well, but I just feel like with Pittsburgh 7-6, with Cleveland 7-7, after that loss to the Raiders, I just think that it's going to be very, very. This division again is super close. Anybody can win it. But I think that the Bengals might be the most talented team left, the most healthy team left, and I just feel like no Lamar, Big Ben ailing, no Baker Mayfield yet. I just feel like that this could be the one for the Bengals to just grab and just be like, yeah, we're the AFC North champions. I feel like this is their year. AFC South, dude, I don't care if the Titans have a better record. The Colts are the better team. They're the better team. I mean, just after beating the Patriots and then before that losing to the Bucks, and even before that, like when their win streak and the players that they have on their team, Carson Wentz is playing actually very well. Darius Leonard is playing absolutely incredible. Jonathan Taylor is a beast and the best running back in the league right now. I don't see the way that the Titans have also been playing. Like I said in the beginning on this podcast, Ryan Tannehill, when you least need him to do it, will play like shit. Will throw picks, will throw interceptions, and will just turn over the ball. And that is what has been happening in these past few weeks when they end up losing games. He has that ability to do that. So does Carson Wentz. But I just think that overall team and that momentum that the Colts have right now is very dangerous. They are the hot team at the moment. They might be the best team in the NFL at the moment. Truly. The way that they've been playing. I got them winning this division. I got the Tennessee Titans folding this division and letting it slip through their fingers. I just think that the Colts are playing so well and that nobody should want to play them. Nobody. Chiefs are 10-4, followed by the Chargers, and then the Raiders and Broncos at 7-7. The Chargers are at 8-6. I got the Chiefs winning this division. I mean, they're getting hot at the right time, even though they have Tyreek Hill out with COVID. I think Travis Kelce is also out with COVID. They've been hit by the bug, by the COVID, like everybody has in the NFL, and they just got to find ways to win. If you've been noticing, games have been very low scoring. That's because injuries and COVID. I think that's just truly what it is. It's not fun to see. Truly not the best football that you want to watch, but it's still football. But yeah, they got the Chiefs winning this easily. They've got no competition, even with the Chargers playing well. I just think that the Chiefs are just a better talented team. The the Chargers have good players, but they're not a complete team yet, where they can win games convincingly, or not convincingly, but like play complete games and win complete games, especially against good teams. Dallas Cowboys are 10-4, Eagles are 7-7, Washington is 6-8, and then the Giants are 4-10. I got the Cowboys winning this, even though that Dak clearly is still injured from his right calf, not 100%, has not played to the best of his ability. Still kind of struggles. Eagles have momentum, but I just don't see them catching the Cowboys, because they're still on a run. They still have a very good team. They have very good players. Dak plays well enough. They win out and win the division easily. Green Bay Packers 11-3, Minnesota Vikings 7-7, Bears 4-10, Lions 2-11. Listen, Packers again, another clear winner here. I mean, no way, no how that they lose this division. Absolutely no. They've already clinched, and now with the Bucs losing too, they got the number 1 seed in the NFC. So, I mean, they're probably going to make it all the way to the NFC Championship game. We'll see who they play, but they have it. They got an easy path right now, man. It's pretty easy for them. Buccaneers, NFC South, Buccaneers 10-4, New Orleans Saints 7-7, Atlanta Falcons 6-8, Carolina Panthers 5-9. Bucs are gonna win this by a landslide still. I know they lost to the Saints. The Saints are 7-7, but they still have no quarterback really. They don't have Sean Payton at the moment, but he has COVID. He'll be back soon. But I don't see the Bucs blowing this division. They can probably hope that the Packers lose some games and that they don't get the number 1 seed, and that they just keep that the Bucs keep on winning. But for the sake of the division, no way, no how the Bucs are losing this. No way. Finally, the NFC West. Cardinals 10-4, the Rams 10-4, 49ers 8-6, the Seattle Seahawks 5-9. The Cardinals have been slipping quite a bit with Kyler, with Cliff Kingsbury, not playing to their best of their abilities. Listen, they got stomped by the Lions. The 2-11 Lions beat them. Are they 2-11? Hold on, let me check that real quick. Yes, 2-11-1 Lions. Didn't look great. Kyler looked pretty good, but the play calling was kind of trash. Rams are looking pretty good. They beat the Seattle Seahawks a couple nights ago, although pretty lucky not get that pass interference call. Yeah, the Seahawks are kind of dead in the water. You can kind of tell by the way that they played. They just kind of air balls out and hope that the receivers catch them. Russell Wilson played pretty badly and just not really connecting with his receivers, even though they have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. It's quite astonishing of how they're not connecting on those balls and on those routes. Truly is just it's crazy of how they're not just clicking. It's crazy. But the 49ers are really starting to scare me. Now, the way that they beat the Falcons, I know that it was the Falcons, but just them, they have momentum now. They're kind of like the Colts, who have the momentum right now. They could easily win their last 3 games, man. I know we got to play them one more time, but I'm just like, I mean, as a Rams fan, they're not done yet. They're not done. They have the ability with everybody they have, even Jimmy G, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, who's playing out of his mind again, Brandon Ayuk, man. We can't just put them to bed. We can't forget about them yet. It's crazy. I know that they're right there. They're a huge threat. I understand that. But, I mean, I got to be positive. Right? I know that they play the Titans next on Thursday. I know that they play the Titans today. And they might win. I'll be honest with you. I know that the Titans are a good team too, but I just feel like the 49ers are just so complete right now. They have so much momentum. They might win this game. But I still have hope, though. The way that we've been playing, Matthew Stafford has settled down. And not a great game against the Seahawks. He had an interception, but Cooper Kupp went off, and he had a great game. Past Bruce, Cooper Kupp had a good game, and I have to keep hoping for that to keep happening, and for them to just not implode and revert back to what they were before. but I'm super confident. This is really shaping up to be a great end to the season. Everybody's super close, and if they're not that close, they're in, striking distance that they can, if things fall their way, they could be in. It's going to be a close finish. Again, our first 17-game season is coming to an end, coming to a close already, people. It's already December 23rd. Christmas is on the horizon, pretty much. You'll be spending time with your family, hopefully. You'll be having a good time. It's Festivus. Christmas is soon. I hope everybody has a good holiday. Safe holiday. Fun holiday. Eat some food. Maybe go see Spider-Man. See a movie. Go out to eat. Make some good food. And just have fun. I know that I'm going to have fun on these next couple days. With family, friends. We got basketball too on Christmas. We also have a couple games, I believe, on Christmas Day themselves. We got one game, and two games actually, on Christmas Day. Cleveland and Green Bay, and then Indianapolis and Arizona. That's going to be a great, great game. Can't wait to watch that one. But yeah, enjoy it, people. Enjoy it. Hope everybody, before I send everybody off to have a good Christmas, I hope that you, again, continue to listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, whatever podcast thing that you can find it on. I'm pretty sure it's on a lot of them. Watch it on YouTube, and make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Leave a comment. Share with your friends. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Let's get that number up. If you can on Spotify as well, maybe tell your friends. Share it. Put on those notifications so when the episodes come out. Again, they come out on every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. So you have time to listen or watch it if you want to. But hey, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Festivus. And yes, again, it's all at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva on everything. So yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Festivus, and I will see you guys next week.